Good afternoon, everyone. This is an update on tropics for November 7th, 2022. Subtropical storm Nicole has formed, which means we have a ton more details on impacts that Florida could be seeing this week. As you can see, currently looking at the satellite imagery, we have subtropical storm Nicole. This is not a tropical storm yet, but this is a subtropical right now. As you can see, because we don't have a lot of convection around the center of circulation, and this is the low pressure system right now that is moving at about a northward direction, but this is going to be moving generally to the northwest and then to the west and even to the southwest, where it will be making impacts in Florida around middle to the end of this week. Looking at the National Hurricane Center 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, there is subtropical storm Nicole. This currently has winds of 45 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 1001 millibars. It is currently moving northwest at 8 knots or at 9 miles per hour. As we look at the forecast cone, we have gotten a lot of hurricane watches out here for the Bahamas, as well as going into the eastern coast of Florida. This is including Fort Lauderdale, Cocoa Beach, Daytona Beach, and areas like that. And what that means is you could see a hurricane warning, as this is expected to strengthen into a hurricane last minute around 8 p.m. Wednesday. Bahamas again will be seeing those strong tropical storm to hurricane impacts. Central Florida will be seeing tropical storm impacts, and the coast of Florida will be seeing those hurricane impacts. As you can see, the panhandle of Florida could also see a tropical storm impacts, and that's right near the Tallahassee area, where it is expected to make a second landfall, and then that does go into the southeast. Georgia, South Carolina, even North Carolina could see some tropical storm impacts. Tropical storm watches are out here for the rest of the east coast of Florida, and that even goes right down into the Key Largo area. Here's the peak storm surge forecast, and here's the peak storm surge forecast in the yellow list, where you could expect 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. So that could definitely have some damage on some very close buildings to the shore, and this is going to go along pretty much the entire east coast of Florida. Could see 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. Now as you get down here near the Miami area, you're going to be expecting 2 to 4 feet or maybe 1 to 2 feet of storm surge, so not that much, but definitely pretty much most of the east coast of Florida could be expecting 2 to 4 feet, even up to 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, which could definitely be damaging in some areas. And as we look at the flash flooding potential, we do have a slight risk so far. I do think this will be increasing over the next several days, but slight risk so means that 15% chance for flash flooding in that yellow shaded area. And this green area goes all the way into the Orlando area. That's a marginal risk, so a 5% chance you could see flash flooding in that area. And I did forget to give you the timing on this. As you can see, if you didn't read it yourself, this is going to be making landfall between 8 p.m. Wednesday and 8 a.m. Thursday as a Category 1 hurricane, according to the National Hurricane Center. In the Bahamas, this could also make landfall in portions of the Bahamas there by around 8 a.m. of Wednesday. Looking at some of these key messages for subtropical storm Nicole, hurricane conditions are possible across portions of the northwestern Bahamas in southeast to east central Florida beginning Wednesday, where hurricane watch has been issued. Tropical storm conditions are possible in the tropical storm watch areas in Florida and Georgia beginning Wednesday, and a dangerous storm surge is possible across portions of the northwestern Bahamas, much of the east coast of Florida, and portions of coastal Georgia. A storm surge watch has been issued for most of the east coast of Florida and portions of coastal Georgia. Not focused on the exact track of Nicole, since it is expected to be a large storm with hazards extending well to the north of the center and outside of the cone, and affect much of the Florida peninsula and portions of the southeast U.S. Now, lastly, Nicole will produce heavy rainfall by Wednesday night and Thursday across the Florida peninsula. Flash and urban flooding will be possible across portions of the Florida peninsula, along with river rises on portions of the St. Johns River. So far, rainfall totals are not too bad here. In the Orlando area, you could be expecting 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. That will definitely cause a lot of flooding in that area, but in those dark green colors, those are more 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, some minor flash flooding for those dark green areas. Light green, pretty much not much rainfall at all, kind of a rainy day, so 1 to 2 inches of rainfall in the lime green color. But again, this could increase over time, and again, those tropical storm force winds will be extending well over the center, well away from the center, which means you will be seeing tropical storm force winds all the way up here in Jacksonville, all the way down here in Miami, and it's going to be making landfall somewhere in here. So a very large storm is definitely going to be impacting Florida Wednesday into Thursday. Looking at the GFS model here, as we move forward within time, this makes it the hurricane status around 6 p.m. on Thursday. It definitely drops a lot of that pressure down to even 994 millibars, which will be a strong tropical storm to mid-end Category 1 hurricane. And that makes landfall just north of Miami Beach there, and then makes the second landfall there right near the Tallahassee area, goes into the Jacksonville, Florida area, goes back into the Atlantic Ocean, where it will be bringing a lot of rainfall to the East Coast of the United States. And again, thankfully it is much weaker in today's model than yesterday's model. Yesterday's model we had a major hurricane in Florida, but today is kind of a low-end Category 1 hurricane that could be impacting here in southeastern Florida. European model is definitely going up now with this hurricane. As you can see, 992 millibars, which is definitely a little bit stronger than the GFS model. We rarely see this with the European model. We typically see this European model start to really recognize what's really going to happen about 4 to 5 days out from now. Definitely takes its time in noticing and agreeing with a lot of these other models, but European model pretty much has the same agreement with the GFS model that this is going to be making impacts as that Category 1 hurricane. CMC model here, and this has it a little bit stronger, 988 millibars landfall, so a little bit stronger for a Category 1 hurricane, maybe even a Category 2 with the CMC model. And the Icon model definitely has definitely a lot more stronger, with nearing 985 millibars around landfall. So my forecast, we could be expecting a mid-end to high-end Category 1 hurricane, that could be making landfall here north of Miami around overnight Wednesday into Thursday. And looking at these spaghetti models, pretty much all of them are agreeing now that they are going to be making landfall literally just north of Miami there, pretty much right on West Palm Beach. So definitely West Palm Beach, you are going to be expecting a direct landfall from Nicole here. Miami also needs to keep an eye on this, and also especially some of these storm surge areas like Daytona Beach, St. Augustine, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Florida, Palm Bay, especially near the Vero Beach area, Fort Pierce, and Port St. Louis. You could definitely see some of those peak storm surge values from this, as you will be very close to the center, which means that you will be seeing stronger and stronger winds. The closer you get to the center, that could lead to a storm surge even up to 7 to 8 feet. So very concerning situation. Once again, that Florida is being impacted by, once again, another hurricane this season. This will probably be the last this season, thankfully, but Florida definitely needs a break here, a long break from hurricanes after Hurricane Ian. So please stay safe out there. Please have those plans in place. Lastly, we're going to be looking at the intensity guidance. As you can see, this strengthens up to a high-end tropical storm strength with a lot of these models. Weakens once it gets into that land, and even strengthens a little bit here as it goes either into the Gulf or back onto the East Coast. So definitely stay safe out there. Have those safety plans in place. Make sure you do get prepared now before it's too late here, especially in more of the central East Coast of Florida will be those that get impacted most by those storm surge and hurricane force winds. Miami will definitely see some of those winds heading back out to sea, which means that you will mainly see some of those areas get more wind damage than that storm surge, since that wind is heading away from the coast. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have these daily updates around 2 p.m. Central Time every day until this makes landfall, and even may issue more updates here for more of the Panhandle of Florida, even the southeastern coastline, as this makes a weird turn into the Gulf, back onto the coast, and then back out to the Atlantic. So stay tuned for more updates. Subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and also like the video. Show those friends and family that do live in this area that might want these frequent updates on forecasted Hurricane Nicole. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.